Hello, we're in England, and we sell pictures in England and Malta. We tend to send the Maltese pictures we buy in England to Malta to be sold. We have a business in Malta selling pictures as well. So we have this twin track business selling pictures. And there are three artists in the locality of Malta and Naples, which are of note because they cause very much a lot of confusion in Malta to a degree with buyers and sellers, and in England they cause an awful amount of confusion between buyers and sellers and auction rooms and valuations, etc. So the names are Esposito, Esposito, Galea, Galea, and Gianni, Ginni. Gianni means John in Italian. So very briefly, if you're looking for Galea, you want to buy an LM Galea, sometimes signed LM, sometimes signed L only. Luigi Maria Galea, he did the Valletta scenes. A basic one is 2,000 to 3,000 euros in poor condition. A fine pair is 10,000 euros. That's just to give you an idea. But there are other Galeas. There's Joseph, there's Edwin, who did watercolours afterwards, which are worth 20 or 30 pounds. So you have to pick the right Galea, and it's difficult if you're a layman. You have to compare and look carefully. And then there are the Giannis. If you're buying Giannis, you want to buy Girolamo Gianni, which will be worth usually 5,000 to 10,000 euros for something ordinary, or more for something large or different. And they are wonderful pictures using pinks, often of, again, Valletta, Grand Harbour, the walls, sometimes the temples. Very, very, very skillful use of bright pinks. And so with that's Gianni. There was a family, Maltese Italian family. There was Maria, there was Ettore, who moved backwards and forwards and kept this pink pedigree going, doing scenes of both Malta and more often Naples. They are often signed quite well, with which are legible, and you can compare the scenes and work out whether they're real or not, and obviously determines the value. But then there are other Giannis which were painters 100 years ago who were painting for the tourist market, and a buyer would expect to buy a Gianni if they got off the boat. Like if you went to London, you expect to buy a Banksy postcard or a Damien Hirst postcard. It's the same with the Giannis. People expected a Gianni, so other artists who were not Giannis would use the name Gianni, and no one batted an eyelid 100 years ago. The concept of intellectual property wasn't really high up on the agenda. And it's rather like if you go on a cruise ship now, if the cruise ship is staffed with Filipinos or Vietnamese people, they will all have rather unusual names which a Westerner can't hear or write down or pronounce or remember. So the owners of the cruise ships will tell their staff with difficult names to change their name, and you'll find they're given anglicised names, or at least Western names, so it's a sort of stage name. And it's also the similar thing in China. They are mass producing oil paintings which are sold by the quayside in France, in the streets of Paris. This international art, which is mass produced, machine made or semi-machine made oil paintings on canvas, and the Chinese man in the factory won't sign it in calligraphy with a Chinese name. No one will read because it'll stop the buyer buying it. They will sign it with a European or anglicised sort of name, or a Frenchified sort of name. So you might find a picture of a sailing ship, and they might say Hubert or Forrest or whatever, and they'll obviously sign a Monet. They'll sign a Picasso. So you have the same thing there. You have commercial artists using particular names to get things sold. So with Gianni, you have the family. You have other members of other Gianni families. You have artists using the name Gianni, and you also have people putting the name Gianni onto paintings well after they were painted. I saw last week a Gianni which had a fairly recent Gianni word put over the top of it, probably 50 years ago. Didn't look like any of the other ones, so I could tell it was out of place. And I have actually also seen this week a Gianni painting in England with the initial scraped off, visibly scraped off. So they're trying to get people to think it's the better Gianni, not one of the later Giannis. So there's problems with Giannis, there's problems with Galeas if you don't know what you're doing. Esposito, there's Vincenzo who did many, rather like the Bonellos in Malta. You have Gaetano Esposito, who was the top of the pile. He did attractive Neapolitan girls with black hair and red scarves and white hats. He did the lemon pickers in the hills. He did the boys playing in the beaches by the cliffs, the boats, the fishermen in the bays. He did mainly oils, signed his name in full, Gaetano Esposito, with a red, distinctive, wonderful, stylistic, of the time signature. But you then got other Espositos, many, many more, I can even remember. I keep seeing new ones. One of the most common, well, we have some, is G.D. Esposito, who did the gouache vessels, the naval ships of, did Italian ships, he did French ships, he did English ships, and British ships. And he signed very clearly in white gouache and often dated, often used his initial, but not always used the D apostrophe Esposito. But I noticed last year Christie's sold in the same sale a Gaetano Esposito with a full red signature, full forename, full surname, big, and they sold a G D apostrophe Esposito in white gouache. They sold two pictures, one of the oil of the girl, one of the gouache of the boat. They sold them both in the same sale with the same attribution, Gaetano Esposito, the same date of birth, the same date of death. So there are mistakes being made in England. We don't see a huge amount of them up here, but there are mistakes in the market. There are gaps in the market, which provides hazard when you're buying, and to an equal measure it provides buying opportunities. So when you're buying Esposito or Desposito, you have to have your wits about you. When you're buying Giannis, you have to have your wits about you. When you're buying Galeas, you have to have your wits about you. Just three names that crop up really very frequently when we're buying these pictures and selling them in Malta. It's quite interesting and enjoyable. As long as you know it's a muddle, then you're to be forearmed is to be forewarned. Thank you.